what women have been conditioned for the most part by, our Western modern societies is to lean into that.
Right.
Lean into sexual market value, and that's how you find a man. When men see that type of person, what they're saying is, I want to sleep with this person. That's what's registering. Those are the cues that they're getting.
So that to me is SMV.
And then the response from users have created the culture. It's like they're like, we want dating to be like this. We want it to be degenerate. We want it to be superficial. And they sort of shoved it down the throats of all of the singles across the world. Well, those people are rejecting it. They're like, no, we want a different culture. And that's the culture, the toxic culture that everybody's sort of fed up with, right? That they kind of want to get out of.
Right.
Is this, and when people talk about dating is so bad right now, everybody's so messed up, like everybody's so narcissistic and women don't respond. It's money and sex.
It's finances.
Yeah.
Finances is the number one reason why women choose to divorce men. Welcome back to the Hairy Knuckle Podcast. This is episode probably 9.
I think so. I think we're at 9, right?
Yeah. And only 4 published.
4 published. Yeah, we're a little behind.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
But Jose is catching up real quick.
Jose does a good job.
Jose does a great job.
Yeah.
And you'll see some of his work for going forward.
How many editors did you have to go through until you found the right one?
Probably 5.
5, yeah. That's just like everything.
Yeah. It's just like meandering through. I mean, this is like a case study in entrepreneurship, just trying to find a podcast editor.
Yeah, it's tough.
You think you've found somebody and they don't quite work out.
Right, yeah, it's just
it's kind of like dating. Things. You think you found somebody,
yeah,
and they don't quite work out.
Right. That's a good segue into what we wanted to talk about today on why it doesn't work out. I think we wanted to compare 2 different things. We wanted to compare sexual market value, which we'll define here in a minute, and relationship market value. So those 2 things are really why, when people conflate the 2, are why a lot of relationships don't work out. And, you have this 50% divorce rate. That's one theory. I think I like that theory. That a lot of people base their relationship off of sexual market value, and they get into a relationship with that kind of person. And then as that relationship progresses, they come to find out, we're actually not compatible and things aren't working out.
Right. Well, I think a lot of men focus strictly on how hot the girl is. They don't really consider the entire relationship as a whole. I think they focus more on the beauty of the girl. That's all they want to do is marry a hot girl, and not when they get into, and not what it's going to be like down the road. Whether or not they're truly compatible with this woman, if this woman has done anything outside of other than taking care of herself physically.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're conditioned to believe that the partner we should be pursuing is the one that we're highly attracted to, obviously based upon physicality.
Yeah.
When there are a lot of other metrics that if we were conditioned to look for, we would. But I think dating apps, TV, movies, they all sort of condition us to look at lust and attraction rather than some of the other things that
physical attributes as opposed to emotional and psychological attributes of a person. Like, you should be attracted to somebody. Like, friends are attracted to each other, not necessarily on the physicality, but like emotional attraction, right?
Yeah, obviously friendship is different.
Yeah.
But yeah.
When you talk about sexual market value, we're talking about the physical aspects of that individual that that girl in our case, you're attracted to, right?
Yeah, no, I think that when we talk about sexual market value, I think that's something that's tangible that we can see. It's a behavior. It's a way in which people that are single represent themselves. So, for example, if a woman chooses to get tattoos or
Mm.
piercings or dress in more provocative clothing or exhibit an attitude that's more that exemplifies her as being more independent, right? Those things increase her sexual market value, meaning men will be attracted to this person, but they're not necessarily going to be looking at her as somebody that's a great fit for them long term, right? What women have been conditioned for the most part by our Western modern societies is to lean into that,
Right.
lean into sexual market value, and that's how you find a man.
Do you
Where
think SMV is strictly physicality, or do you believe it could be more than just physical attributes? Do you think it could be like rizz as well, or is that RMV?
right, we talked about psychological, and then I just said the attitude or behaviors of a woman, right? The things that they value, right, increases their SMV. So, for example, a woman that's really fun-loving and social, wants to go out, has lots of friends, goes out and parties, knows how to dance. I think that increases a woman's SMV for sure. The type of clothes that she wears at the gym, she's coming across. She's really leaning on her appearance. And men obviously respond to that, but the response that they're getting is not the response that they think that they're getting.
For discussion purposes, where do we define the line between RMV and SMV? Where do you define it? I mean, that's kind of interesting discussion. I think we should have in it, because I think there's there could be a little bit of overlap of not only the personality of an individual, obviously increasing the SMV, but developing the personality of an individual could definitely improve the RMV.
Right. Yeah. So, for example, a good example of this is women that are older, let's say they're late 30s, that decide they no longer want to be single. They want to find a partner, right? And so what do a lot of them do? They start to get Botox. They'll get the boob job.
The BBL.
They'll hit the gym. They'll dress more provocative. They'll just to sort of catch the eye of men, right?
Yeah.
But what is that? What is that doing? Like, so when men see that type of person, what they're saying is, "I want to sleep with this person." That's what's registering. Those are the cues that they're getting.
So that to me is SMV.
That's SMV. Yeah.
To me,
she's capitalizing on her SMV. But psychologically, what she's thinking is, I want to get the attention of men. Like, I want to present myself. Obviously, I want men to approach me. But what they're thinking is, okay, they're going to approach me and it could lead to a long-term relationship. But what's actually happening is they're being approached and it's all short-term.
Yeah.
Because it's a fling or it's just short-term dating. Men don't really see the value in her for a long-term partner because she's not really leaning into those attributes and values that would make her, or in the eyes of men, a good long-term partner.
She is optimizing on her SMV.
Exactly.
And not optimizing on both her SMV and RMV. I believe you need to have SMV to initially attract somebody. I think you have to have a certain level of SMV, a certain level, both men and women, a certain level of sexual market value.
Right.
But in order to maintain and retain a relationship, you have to have the RMV. And I think a lot of dating apps, they're great at getting people with high SMVs paired off initially, but those never actually form into an RMV. A lot of them.
I think there's a confusion. So I think, and this is the thing, I don't know if this is deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaning on it being deliberate. The powers that be realize this, that, for example, if we take swipe-based apps, and this is, I think, where Aura really comes in, our dating app, right? So swipe-based apps is, it's a picture, right?
Yep.
So you have just a few seconds, sometimes in the case of a lot of women, a split second, based on primarily the main photo, to make a decision whether you want to swipe left or swipe right. Now, what's going to increase your chances of somebody swiping right on you is you capitalizing on SMV, because that's what's going to garner attention. If you have a beautiful woman that's, you know, dressed provocatively, has piercings, has tattoos, is looking at the camera a specific way, a lot of men immediately are going to swipe right on that, right?
Right.
Because that triggers something in them, that right, that animalistic sort of primal instinct, you know, to sort of look for that type of woman. So it's sort of, it's women are being engineered to capitalize on SMV, where in fact they're going to have much more success capitalizing on RMV.
I think it's, well, let me ask a question. I'm not going to ask this question. I'm just going to say it. I just think it's incredibly hard in today's dating culture for a woman to evaluate effectively whether a guy has RMV based on an image. Like, I just don't think it's the way that the
And vice
dating apps
versa.
work. Yeah, no, clearly. You're judging somebody purely on their looks, which there's a very important aspect of that. You need to be physically attracted to the other person, clearly. But I think many women and men have passed up on great relationships with somebody out there because somebody had a bad photo or a bad hair day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what it does is, so these apps, which like 96% of the apps out there are swipe based, right?
And owned by one company.
Two companies.
Or two companies,
right?
yeah.
So they're owned by two companies and they're all swipe based. And so what this does is their analytics engine, their algorithm, it is essentially designed to match people based on SMV, right? Somebody with the higher SMV is going to come across on profiles a lot more than somebody with lower SMV, right? So if you're categorized as somebody with lower SMV, you're not going to be shown to the higher SMV people. And so what that does, not only does it create a bad dating experience for the majority of people, right, that don't have high SMV, it also creates a culture. And that's the culture, the toxic culture that everybody's sort of fed up with, right? That they kind of want to get out of.
Right.
Is this, and when people talk about dating is so bad right now, everybody's so messed up, like everybody's so narcissistic and women don't respond. All of this, I think, is really focused on the fact that the culture is perpetuated by the focus on sexual market value rather than relationship market value.
Right. And it, to add to that, these two companies are intentionally doing this to the dating market.
Well, we can't.
And there's a reason why all of these dating companies, the two main companies that own all the dating apps, are not doing well now because they've saturated the market. People have learned that these dating apps are crap. They don't actually get people to where they want to be, which is to have a long-term committed relationship. And
yeah, I think that the analysts, especially like if you look at like people in Market Watch and things like that, when they analyze the stock market of these companies dropping, they always analyze it from a financial standpoint. Like they don't know how to make money. You know, they didn't know how to capitalize on premium benefits. I don't think it's any of that.
No.
I think online dating is very powerful, and I think people can make a lot of money on it. But what people are really turned off about, especially Gen Z, and I think we talked about that on our previous podcast, is they're just tired of the culture. The culture no longer fits. It's almost as if they've wanted to create a specific type of culture, right? It's not as if they've created the apps and then the response from users have created the culture. It's like they're like, we want dating to be like this. We want it to be degenerate. We want it to be superficial. And they sort of shoved it down the throats of all of the singles across the world. Well, those people are rejecting it. They're like, no, we want a different culture. And so that's kind of where, that's the sentiment that I think you and I have captured. And it's the reason that we started Aura in the first place, is we realized, obviously through a lot of our own experiences and interviewing a lot of people and speaking to friends and family, that, you know, this culture just needs to be changed. There needs to be a shift. And so that's kind of where we come in.
I wanted to talk more about SMV and RMV.
Yeah.
Because I think there's an overlap between just the mechanics of the two. Like I think there's some physical things that a person does that I don't know how we would even like quantify this, but
Yeah.
uh, I think SMV and RMV, there's like a great gradation. Like they're two circles, and there's a certain level where they overlap each other in certain attributes between men and women,
Mm-hmm.
and what they want. Like there's certain things
Yeah.
that, like a mannerisms of a guy or a gal can improve an SMV or detract from an SMV and also an RMV at the same time.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? What do you think RMV is?
RMV, not only RMV is like the RMV can be your personality a little bit. I think
Well, personality is more not something that they have as much control over, right?
well, I think you can control your personality to an extent. I mean, like there are certain things that you can't control, like what you find funny, or I guess your
Yeah.
sense of humor is maybe you can control that to an extent. But when it comes to R&B, I was thinking more of what is for me a solid R&B is your value systems,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you value hard work, you value honesty, you value your education level, getting an education. Those are values. Your family, your commitment to family, finances.
Yeah.
Clearly, those are R&B things, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody could be hot as hell on the SMV, and they take care of their fitness. That's great, but they're shit with their family. Like they're terrible
Yeah.
with their family. They don't care about family, or
Yeah. So it's their
yeah,
value system. Their value system, you can see it in the way they dress and in the way they talk,
Mhm.
in the way they present themselves. If they have a specific value system, you can see it in all areas of their life.
yeah,
Right.
or how they talk about other people.
Right.
How they refer to their family.
Yeah.
How do they their value system on their finances, like they like to save or they like to invest. I consider that's a high RMV value,
Yeah.
but if the opposite of that being a low RMV value is somebody who does not value uh, being frugal or smart with
Yeah.
their money,
Yeah.
that's low value. And that's what's the number one reason why women divorce men?
Yeah. It's money and sex.
It's finances.
Yeah.
Finances is the number one reason why women choose to divorce men, and they initiate 70+% of all divorces. So I mean, that's a high RMV indicator. Like if I was a woman dating a guy, the first thing I would want to know is where he stands with money.
Mm-hmm.
How does he value money? Does he value spending it, or is saving it? And also, if I were dating a woman, I'd want to know if she's saving or she's spending. Because if she's spending all the money, or either one of them, it's just going to
Yeah.
result in a disastrous marriage.
Yeah. I think that it's very interesting because the first thing that I want to kind of address is I don't think it's anybody's fault, right? And we talk a lot about this on our podcasts. When we structure these types of cultural phenomenon, like women capitalizing on SMV, right?
Mm-hmm.
We never, I think you and I never present it in a way where we put blame or shame on the individuals, right? Like the women. Like we don't want to blame them. They're simply responding to a culture that's pervasive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for example, like and it's contagious. I think women capitalizing on SMV is contagious. I'll give you an example. Like the gym environment, right?
Yeah.
When girls go to the gym, I remember like 6-7 years ago, like the gym attire was completely different than it is today.
Oh yeah.
Now you can see that they're like literally their ass, like they're the
And how is
it's
this a
so
bad thing,
tight.
David?
And so I know, but the spandex is like you're just accenting your poop maker. Like this is incredible attractive thing. But I'm just saying, like
That is a term I never thought we would actually.
no,
But-
that's what we should call it. Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
literally just accenting the crease of your poop maker. But you're going to the gym. So, but like if you have an attractive woman at the gym, that dresses more and more provocative, and then like the other girls at the gym are going to start emulating that. Like
Yeah.
there's a competition in a sense. So they need to keep up with the other women there because they're not going to get as much attention.
Right.
And I think that's one of the mechanisms at play at the gym, is women getting attention. So in that sense, it's like contagious, right? Or online, like in Instagram, or even in dating apps and swipe-based apps, the women that are dressing more provocatively and that are showing more and presenting themselves in a certain way are going to get more swipes, whereas the other women are not. And
Yeah.
so this is competition of always beating and always living up to this sort of standard that's been given to them, which is our culture. And so that's what's unfortunate. But for me, it's become exhausting, man. Like I go to a grocery store and I see women dressed like that. It's almost like I don't even want to look at you anymore. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I'm almost like I'm just like, go away. Like I don't even want to. I don't even want to look at like that type of woman anymore.
Well,
I'm exhausted. It's just exhausting. Everything on Snapchat, on Instagram, on Facebook, grocery stores, gyms, clubs, bars.
It's
anywhere you go, it's everywhere. It's like I'm exhausted.
What's kind of pleasant though is when you see a modestly dressed woman, you're like, oh, wow.
And it's fascinating.
I appreciate that. I'm like, Jesus.
It's coming back. Like the pendulum is swinging the other way. That culture is so exhausted. People are just tired of it.
I think women in general do a really good job of optimizing their SMV. Okay. And I think men could do a better job because.
Well, men give them let's talk about men because we keep talking about women. Like,
I think
where's
a lot of
men
men are just sloppy. A lot of men have become sloppy and lazy.
But they give them the attention. I don't think women would not. I mean, men are the ones that are facilitating it in the first place, which again is not their fault because we're biologically engineered a specific way, right, to respond to that type of stimuli.
Yeah.
But again, it's not men's fault, but they're doing it. And they're responding, and the men that have a lot of potential in the dating scene are really pursuing those type of women.
Well, and what is it? The algorithms like top 5 or top 2% of all the guys on the dating apps are getting all the swipes, which is feeding into that algorithm that gets them out there to more of the women, and vice versa. So the bottom 50% of guys on dating apps get no swipes. I heard a statistic, it takes like something on the order of the bottom 50% of all guys on dating apps, something on the order of for them to go over to swipe through 200 women before they get one swipe back.
Yeah.
200.
But
and then it's like out of that 200, I think you have to go through about 1,000 before you get a date.
Right.
It's like, good Lord.
Yeah. But the cards are stacked against them, and we're honestly fighting an uphill battle because, like, for example, if like the top Instagram models and people like Kim Kardashian or whoever else is famous, a famous woman, if they literally just rejected that culture, that degenerate sort of culture, and started dressing more modestly and leaning into those types of values, then that's where the shift would occur. But it's just nobody, like in movies, in actresses, Instagram, influencers. Everybody's sort of still leaning into that type of culture.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to change, and it's really hard for women to make that change because they're essentially at a disadvantage for the most part. They think they're at a disadvantage, but they're not. They think they are.
Oh, because they don't measure up to
no, because the type of relationships that they're getting into, leaning into that, are not lasting.
Oh, the guys that they're pining for.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at the top 5% of the guys on the dating apps, they enjoy the fruits of like getting all the swipes so they can.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost incentivizes poor behavior on their part because they're getting all these women, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I could date one this week and then date one next week and smash 2 this week. And it's like, that almost fortifies, like, I don't know how you could go through that and be a normal person at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I think it would fuck you up mentally.
It would. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it all plays, it all works together. Instagram works with Tinder. Tinder works with what people see on movies and on sitcoms, and then influencers are sort of, it's just this terrible cycle. It all kind of works together. And if we can break the mold, I think what we're doing is we're creating a dating app that focuses on RMV, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, appearance is part of it. That appearance is not SMV. Appearance is part of it, but we're building a model, an algorithm that really brings people together based on relationship market value, rather than the swipe based SMV model. And this is what dating should have been like 15 years ago, right? If you have dating apps doing one thing for 15 years, that creates a culture. That's a
Yeah.
long enough time for it to create a culture. So we have kind of an uphill battle too, but I think that we're going to capture a lot of sentiment with what we're doing.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
What else you got on your mind?
No.
Seems like you're thinking, conjuring up something.
Do we want to talk about wins and losses? Losses? Wins and losses?
Wins and loses. Huh?
Loses.
You just
Yeah.
can't talk, huh?
Do you want to talk about entrepreneurial endeavors at this point?
Yeah, we can talk about, let's talk about the app so far and the progress we've made.
I think we had a win.
Yeah,
We
we
are
had a few
now
tremendous
on-
wins. Yeah.
Well, yeah. We're on Apple and Google Play now.
Yeah.
Apple Store, which was a huge feat.
Yeah.
A couple months ago, we didn't think we were going to be on it because of certain decisions made by Apple Store, but they did allow us on. Initially, they told us that they weren't going to add any more quote unquote dating apps, and that ours was too similar to other dating apps. And we knew they hadn't looked at it. And then after them doing multiple reviews, they realized we're sufficiently different. We're wildly different, in fact. And now we're on.
Yeah.
And now our goal is market. Well, before we move on, do you want to talk about that process at all?
About the marketing?
No, not the marketing. The getting on the app or getting on the stores.
Yeah, I know. It was a huge win. We're still going through some things with Apple, but we're on. So check up Aura. Search it on your app store. ORRA. I think we're one of the first or the second.
Yeah.
Apps that come up. Aura Dating. And then we're live on Google Play as well. So
Correct.
Yeah, check it out. ORRA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now our goal is to move. Well, as we're still cleaning house there, because we're not fully done with that. We're now transitioning to building out a user base so that people have people to match with.
Yeah. Working on a user base, and we're also working on, so this is beta. We're working on integrating AI into the front end interface.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be an AI dating consultant integrated into the app that you can speak to independently of your matches.
Correct.
It can give you insights on dating culture, questions. This isn't a woke AI. This isn't something related to a sort of chat GBT or meta type AI. It's something that integrates our culture as a business, as a company. And so you're going to get insights that are a little bit different than the insights that you'd get from other AI.
And you should also realize when you do download it, that the AI portion will never fully be built out. We'll keep on improving this over years. We're going to, not only are we training it, but we're also going to add additional features that users will find interesting in the coming months and years.
Yeah.
So on the marketing aspect, we actually, so we're located in Orem, Utah right now. We have offices here, and we were trying to incorporate some student help through UVU and BYU, Brigham Young University, and Aura is now about a week and a half ago, we received approval to become an elective through their marketing department. And we will have 4 students assisting us in further developing our marketing plan. We already have one, but one of the things that we want to learn is if we're going to focus, what is going to be our market? Are we going to be like a Gen Z or a Gen X, or who's our biggest market in this? And we frankly, we don't know. And so this is part of the process of figuring out what Aura will be focused on. And I actually think it's going to be in multiple generations. I don't think it's just one, but how we're going to approach marketing Aura to these multiple generations, because I think it's going to be different depending on the generation we're going after.
Yeah, it will be different. Yeah.
And so they're going to, we're going to have our first meeting with these marketing students on Monday, and who knows, they may be on the show, on the podcast. So we're going to learn. So one of the things with starting a business is, you make some assumptions and you go after that, and then you learn some things and you pivot your company a little bit, and you learn some more things and you pivot some more. Starting a company is like, if you're not interested in learning and growing and pivoting and changing and improving, you probably shouldn't be an entrepreneur. If you should be working a 9-to-5 job that you just sit there and do a task all day. But Aura is definitely like when we originally, our original idea for Aura and where we're at now, 2 different things, completely different things.
Right.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah. And so, in a month from now, we'll probably learn some shit and we'll realize, fuck, we need to do this, and I'm sure we will.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're kind of approaching this with an open mind, with some assumptions, and we're going to test those assumptions, learn some shit, make some changes, proceed down the next step.
Right. Yeah.
Grow, have some new assumptions, test that, change that.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a process.
Right.
Which is fun. It's kind of the fun part too.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to the RMV, SMV discussion, I'm really curious what other people think about that approach, that perspective, and if it's really, if your opinion is that it also applies to the current state of dating, because it's one way to look at it.
I think I want to talk about SMV and RMV, probably not in this podcast, but I definitely want to discuss it more in the coming months and years, because I think our idea of it is going to blossom. It's going to grow into something much more than what we had originally anticipated or what we originally thought.
Yeah.
Obviously the physical aspects, like the beauty and the handsomeness of an individual, is definitely an SMV, but I think we're going to find there's a little bit of overlap between RMV and SMV.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there is. Right.
And what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Helixer at all?
No, nothing major on my end as far as updates. Do you want to talk about Sawtooth?
No. I'm still trying to identify a good manufacturer that can help me. I've even reached out to the Honduran government in Central America, to the embassy, to see if they have any contacts that could help me find production for my product in Central America. And we got a quote back so I hired this guy named Jeremy to help me find a manufacturer in China. He speaks Chinese, Mandarin. And that is just, I'm over a year into this. I'm a year and a half into this, trying to find and vet a manufacturer in China.
Yeah.
It's
an exhausting process.
Every damn day I'm working on that. Yeah. I'm doing other things, obviously, but not at least an hour a day on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll get there eventually.
I mean, a lot of it's kind of out of my hands and in his hands. I just have to get him more information. But it's just these things never. It won't. You think it's going to be like 3 months. You're going to have this all ironed out, and it's like here I am a year and a half later, still trying to figure this shit out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when Helixer is ready to go, I would have initially thought 3 months, but
No.
no, you should plan for a long haul on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't want to burst your bubble, but and my product is easy.
Right.
Like Jesus.
Yeah.
I sound tired, but I'm still in good spirits. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got wins on Aura. We got stuff. We got plans. We're going through it. One of the things I didn't anticipate with Aura, though, going back to Aura, to start testing different advertising campaigns on social media, digital marketing, the complexity of the changes in the last 6 months using just Meta, what it had done to everything that I already had prepped to go. And so that kind of threw me through a wall. I spent just on Meta in the last 2 days, I probably spent probably 15 hours just dealing with Meta bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's just like the hell.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. We'll wrap it up.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.